Loki just changed the MCU timeline forever. We're talking about it. Come on inside.
What's up, everybody? We are the Jersey Comic Crew. My name is Rob Moran. That's Chris Heller. We're talking today how Loki, the show, the character, everything around it, has forever changed the Marvel Cinematic Universe. After the events of Season 1, we're going to talk about what we think is going to happen for the confirmed Season 2 and beyond. So this is your spoiler warning if you haven't watched the finale of the show or the show as a whole. And before I begin, guys, make sure you smash that like button, hit that subscribe, do all that kind of stuff for YouTube so that we can keep growing and keep making more content for you guys. Where we last left off at the end of the season, we saw Morbius and B-15 kind of take their place back in the TVA. They're in charge and they're freeing the minds of the rest of the variants that work in the TVA, so that way they know what's going on. And the time branches are all falling apart, and Loki comes in to try to talk to them and warn them that, like, he just saw He Who Remains die and something bigger and badder is coming up, and they don't know who Loki is.
Yeah, it's crazy because we just saw them react to now these tendrils that have surpassed that kind of tipping point. We know the timeline's changed forever. We see it outside of He Who Remains window where, like, the cracks in reality and time space, like almost like lightning striking a tree where you have all, like, the veins. And it's happening already, but to go from that to, like, you know, them kind of saying their old TVA oath, kind of responding to the call of needing, you know, someone needing to run the ship, and as well as that, B-15 kind of opening the minds of the rest of the guards that work there to this new regime of TVA to know the timeline already reset. Like, there was no warning, there was no, like, visual energy field representation. It just happened, right? You look over, there's Kang in a statue. So this is going to be something going forward I think is going to be one of the keys of Loki Season 2, which is how does Loki get kind of his friends back to normal?
It's much like what he had to do in Season 1, right? In Season 1, it was more like he was the enemy of them, and he was trying to open his eyes to start a rebellion, right? He's trying to open Morbius's eyes to, like, the hypocrisy that is the TVA.
Yeah.
Now he's like, oh, I need to open my friend's mind so that way we can work together and save the universe, right? So we're going to have some similar story beats to Season 1, which always does well when you have something similar. Not the same, similar, right? But moving to looking at Loki, right? Loki and Sylvie, this won't they kind of dynamic that they had all of the first season. We did see the kiss finally at the end, right? But she did that to push him through the portal so she could go ahead and kill He Who Remains, right? Absolutely. So this brings up Loki and Sylvie's relationship, right? Loki is kind of more mature than he is, very much like how he was at the end of the MCU. So is he going to try to still be friends with Sylvie? Are they going to be just enemies? Or is he going to try to be more than just friends? Is he going to go after that romantic relationship? So now it's like a Mr. and Mrs. Smith kind of situation almost.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Romeo and Juliet where, like, everyone kind of thinks they belong together. They're kind of these two misfits out of time. They went through all this stuff to just be not able to be together kind of thing. And it's just, you know, Sylvie can't trust anyone. Loki can't be trusted. He says it, right? You can't trust me and I can't be trusted. And I think it's going to be an uncomfortable, awkward rebuild of their relationship. I think he's going to be very cognizant of the fact that this is her fault. That this is, listen, you caused this. Now we are all in grave danger because of whatever this new, you know, Council of Kangs or Kang variants, Kang army is going to be right over the horizon, along with all these other threats mixed in. How do you mend that relationship? Especially if, who knows, like, does Sylvie get killed by one of the Kangs for her idiocy in that situation, for her decision making?
What if she's working for one of the Kangs, right? And maybe she becomes the antagonist all the whole time.
I don't think she will. I think she hates them so much. I think part of that decision, I think part of the decision to, like, not listen to kind of Loki's reasoning and her just being like, no, I have to finish this. They ruined my life from the beginning for no reason other than to kind of get me to this point. I think she's like, nope, I'm killing them. And maybe she's just like an assassin and tries to kill all the Kangs.
Maybe that'd be cool to see. But, like, you talk about, like, somebody whose life has been turned upside down by He Who Remains, by these Kangs. We got to talk a little bit about Ravonna. We didn't really see a lot of her in the last episode. We saw her do a little exchange with Morbius. We saw her back as a variant in 2018 at the Franklin D. Roosevelt School, right?
Yeah.
But now she left, right? She went through a portal. She obviously knows something is going somewhere. Miss Minutes gave her certain files. We don't know what kind of files, right, for adventures going forward. So Ravonna is going to be like this third or fourth entity, this angle that we have to view during the season 2, right?
Yeah.
She's going to try to find the truth, why she was taken out, what was He Who Remains plan for everything with Ravonna. And like we said a little bit last episode, I'm beginning to believe that Ravonna has some kind of relationship to one of the Kang variants. We know in the comics of Ravonna and Kang the Conqueror, yes, they both look very different, but they had a romantic relationship. It could still be like one of Ravonna fell in love with one of the Kang variants. That's why he took her away to save her, because maybe something was going to happen if that Kang variant got too close to Ravonna and maybe awoken something in him. I don't know.
I think you're onto something, because I don't necessarily think the Ravonna we saw at the school means much besides that, like, the one running the TVA was a variant.
Yeah.
But I think she plays into something, whether it's they were in love, he put her as the head of the TVA to save her, and for her, a variant that he needed to get out of time. I think she has definitely way more backstory, whether it's connected to a Kang or, He Who Remains Kang, because he's going to be reincarnated too, right? Like, he's going to come back, because he says, like, I'll see you, like, whenever. So I think she's going to have a much bigger role. We're going to find out way more about her backstory, way more about how she got there in that role, and kind of what were the effects of her getting there, right? Was she saved? Was she a threat to Kang, kind of like the Lokis were, that she needed to put there to kind of help his own timeline out?
So you bring up the Kang variants, that one Kang variant might be in every single one, right? So one of the variants that we know is going to show up is, Kang the Conqueror. The full name is going to appear in Ant-Man and the Wasp, right?
Yes.
So we're going to see before, I'm assuming before season 2, right?
I would think so.
Right?
I would think so, yeah. Ant-Man and the Wasp is already in production, pre-production, so, like, we know it's happening. I'm guessing it'll happen before Loki season 2.
So I'm thinking, like, Kang the Conqueror we see in full glory in Ant-Man and the Wasp. I don't know if he's going to be the villain or not, or what effects, but I think that's the next Kang we're going to see, the villain that we're all afraid of. And then in Loki season 2, we're going to see all the variants and learn more about Kang as a character, which brings me to my question to you, Chris. If they're taking their time with Kang, right? We see this here. We're going to see him as a villain. We don't know what respect, right? In Ant-Man and the Wasp. And then in Loki season 2, we're probably going to get backstory on Kang with all the other variants. Does this mean Kang is going to be the new big bad for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, much like Thanos is, but maybe one they're taking more time to build up the story for, build up the backstory, instead of just an Easter egg here they're being mysterious?
I think it's definitely a possibility. I'm not willing to say yes 100% sure yet, because I think with the movies, I don't think you can't fit every single movie in, like, a time travel scenario, right? Like, that doesn't make sense for Shang-Chi. That doesn't make sense for some of the movies down the line, at least to my knowledge right now, right? Like, Blade doesn't seem to be like a time travel movie. But at the moment, maybe it's a phase 4 villain.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, like a phase 4.
Leads into, a bunch of things. Maybe he's going to be kind of the one that goes between Disney Plus and a couple of movies, right? Like, maybe he's not just... I don't think he's just going to be an Ant-Man and the Wasp, and that's it. Especially with the way they've set him up here. So, I think so. I think he has also options of kind of time travel, right? He is a time traveler. He is a conqueror of time and kind of conquers all the things he wants within it, which kind of was symbolized in the apple. So, like, during that last episode, he's eating an apple, and as 2 Catholic kids are sitting in front of you from Catholic school, what does
we
the
like
apple
apples?
symbolize? You like apples? Well, we just like apples. No, but what does that symbolize, right? That's the beginning of Adam and Eve in the garden eating the apple.
Yeah.
And once they ate the apple, everything changed, right? Eating that apple symbolized the end of man's kind of, illusionment with evil. And once Eve eats the apple, everything changes. So to me, that was a little like, oh, he's eating an apple. Is that on purpose based on kind of like, Christianity, religion? I don't know. But that was very interesting that he's like chewing on an apple out of all things, which helped with his like personality, but also, Marvel doesn't do things like that for no reason. So is there a connection there? Could it be a connection to Ravonna, who is a teacher? Big apples are also big. There you go.
I think realistically, they just gave him a piece of fruit. And he's like,
he wanted it to add it to his.
He wanted to add it to it, like Barbosa with the apple. Like, just go with it, fine. Yeah. And now us, our crazy religion background and comics and everything, we're like, apple, Adam and Eve, apple, teacher. Oh my God, that's why everything's here. It could just be an apple. It could just be an apple, Chris.
Maybe. I mean, the guy's a time traveler, so like, it would make sense. It would make sense.
The apple's Mephisto. Confirmed, 100%. It's green. They didn't want to put red. They tricked us because green and red, they go together like Christmas. Mephisto's coming out this Christmas.
Well, actually, he does say, like, if you kill, are you going to kill one devil or multiple devils? That to me was the Mephisto line, because he says it like before he dies. So just to throw that in there. But anyway, just to ruin your last 30 seconds of excitement. But he literally was like,
mine was nonsense.
He literally was just like, so you're gonna kill one devil to create more, or what are you gonna do? I was like, so. But I think Kang, like, getting back to the serious conversation, man.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think whatever variants of Kang, you can deal with multiple variants. I think that may be also why Jonathan Majors was kind of pulled to the role, right? He gets to kind of portray the same character with a bunch of different personalities, right?
Maybe one likes apples, one likes bananas.
Maybe one's a Richards, right? Maybe one's somehow connected to the Fantastic Four. Maybe one's connected to Iron Lad. Maybe one's, classic Kang the Conqueror. When he's talking, there are moments where his voice gets very deep and serious, and you're almost like, whoa, is that going to be the crazy? Is that going to be the really dark stuff? I think there's going to be little touches, and he's going to be these kind of different personality traits within him. And who knows, maybe Kang the Conqueror is not only trying to, conquer the MCU and its heroes like the Avengers, maybe he's also going around killing variants of himself because he wants to be the only one. So like that's another possibility that would be easily to bleed into Loki. Like, hey, we found the one Kang that's a good guy. We got to protect this guy to help us take out this
guy. Exactly. And like, I mean? I would like to see the good version of him, the scientist, go crazy, try to help things, and like he get taken out. And that turns out to be Nathan Richards. My parents were like this, and he dies, of course, and then all that. I am so down for that. But we're talking a lot about this timey-wimey stuff, Doctor Who reference for you guys. So the effects of the Loki series could have permanent changes on the MCU. We touched about this a little bit before, but we see all those time tendrils spanning out, right? And the core timeline is different, right? Or perhaps different. So this could lead to changes in the events of our own timeline. And what I mean by that is like the major effects could still happen, right? Thanos died, Iron Man is dead, Cap picks up the hammer, stuff like that. The snap is there. But maybe there are these little tweaks and turns that we didn't see. I know you guys in the audience are going to go straight to, like, mutants. Oh, my God. Wolverine's there. And he's slapping things out. We saw that Boss Logic teaser cover. Hugh Jackman's coming back. Right? And then you could be like, oh.
That's literally what I did when I posted it.
I know. Oh, my God. Fantastic Four's coming. We know it's going to be there. He's a Richards. Could be a Richards. We could be dealing with Spider-Man. We saw a Fantastic Four building. The one thing I wanted to touch about a little bit more in this episode, aside from the big things that we've all been talking about for months, is the new Black Panther opportunity.
Yes.
So, unfortunately, Chadwick Boseman did pass away, right?
Yeah.
And has left a vacuum of a Black Panther. Now, we do want Black Panther as a character in the future. We know Black Panther 2 is going to be a thing. It'd be a shame to get rid of that character. Absolutely. There's been many theories of like, oh, sure, he takes on the mantle. People could see that. I have an interesting one.
I personally can't, but that's just me.
I know you don't. You're not a fan of that. My theory, you ready for this?
Yeah.
The events of Black Panther is the same. Killmonger dies, fights Black Panther, all this and that. He gets faded away. He'll come back.
Yeah.
What if they did a change in actors? What if Chadwick Boseman was Killmonger in this timeline? And then we have Michael B. Jordan was Black Panther. What if they did a switch? And the only thing that changed are the people, right? And then the new Black Panther is Michael B. Jordan. I think a lot of people would like that. But the one caveat is because Killmonger as Michael B. Jordan was such a great character, having him be Black Panther kind of like ruins both. That is an argument that could be made.
That's tough, yeah.
Or maybe Killmonger lives, and then he goes on the road of redemption, and Killmonger becomes a Black Panther for Wakanda. That might be an avenue that we could discuss if Michael B. Jordan does take on that role. Very hard to think about.
Yeah, that's tough because speaking on just the Black Panther possibilities, right?
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to make Chadwick the bad guy and switch that because that's just a bad look.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to go the Michael B. Jordan route. I think that character's dead and it's good as what it is. I also think with the beginning of this final Loki episode...
Real quick, I just want to clarify. You think he's dead, Michael B. Jordan, as like being T'Challa? Or dead as in like he has to be Killmonger, Killmonger has to stay dead? Or like Michael B. Jordan and Killmonger is like thing? Okay.
Yeah, both. Okay. All the above. I don't think you take...
You can't bring back Killmonger from death.
You can't bring him back and you can't take the Black Panther away from Chadwick.
Okay.
Is the thing. So I think, hear me out. I think the best course of action for this is this. The aspect that we heard in the beginning of the final episode of Loki, right? That MCU timeline thing we talked about in the last episode, guys, where we heard all the voices and we heard bits and pieces from the MCU as we know it. I think that's telling us that is solidified, right? That's not changing. Everything we've heard, Iron Man 1 through Endgame, now through Black Widow, through the shows, we heard the Vision line, we heard some stuff from Falcon Winter Soldier. I think that is all solidified. I think from now on, whatever happens with Loki going forward is changed. So I think Black Panther happened. It's not changing. They're not going to switch anything. I think going forward, there's two things. We know we have a Disney Plus series that's going to focus on Wakanda as the city.
Yes.
Probably political. I've off air talked about this a billion times where I think it should be a Game of Thrones scenario where no one knows where T'Challa is. Everyone wants the vibranium from Wakanda, and they're fighting it off from different sides. Whether it's the 10 rings, you could put Shang-Chi in there. Whether it's Namor and Atlantis. Whether it's Thunderbolt Ross and the government. Whether it's Valentina. All these major characters are trying to get into Wakanda for that vibranium, and they have to hold everyone back. But I think for the second movie, if you're not going to do T'Challa, it's either which I think is going to be first before the Disney Plus series.
Yeah.
I think the movie, they've rewritten it like 5 times. It's a very difficult situation. Don't have it T'Challa there. Have it focused on the culture. Have it focused on the characters. Build up the characters. I think with the fact that Loki has proved we have variants of everyone, how can there not be variants of T'Challa? How can there not be variants in other universes of all of our MCU characters? I think that's the whole point. And in this way, I think eventually you recast T'Challa.
I would completely new character, not somebody known in the MCU or in that movie taking on the mantle.
I think the MCU needs a Black Panther.
I agree.
I really do. I think the Marvel Universe needs a Black Panther. He is so key to so many things in the comic world, regardless of just having Wakanda vibranium. He's extremely intelligent. He brings a different type of perspective to the entire world.
I agree.
I don't think Shuri fits that mold. I think Shuri's a great character as an assisting character. But I think we need to recast T'Challa eventually. And I think my vote would be like a Yahya Abdul-Mateen, who was Black Manta. He was also he also played Dr. Manhattan in Watchmen. He's huge. He reminds me of like the 90s Chris Priest and Alex Ross run of Black Panther. I think with now crossing into a gray area with Loki and variants, and our Loki's a variant, Sylvie, they want to get back into the main universe. That kind of complicates things. I think there's an opportunity for T'Challa, maybe, a displaced T'Challa who's not really king-like, almost like Thor's story, right? Where he's like drunk and doing something else, picks up the mantle in our world. I think there's a possibility for that. Hopefully they do that eventually, but not immediately.
Last thing I want to talk a little bit about, these tendrils that have been created throughout all of reality of different times and stuff like that. Is this the catalyst that caused the quote-unquote multiverse of madness? Is this the event that Black Widow. Is this the event that Wanda and Doctor Strange have to go through and kind of fix, because they're the only two that can fix it, right? But at the same time, you have the TVA going in there trying to deal with the small stuff. Maybe they're dealing with the big ones that they can't handle. I don't know. Is that what this is?
Short answer, yeah. Short answer, definitely yeah.
And we're done here.
Yeah, see you later. But long answer, yeah, I think, one, Kevin Feige did not lie to us, right? Like, Loki is the biggest significant show as far as affecting the MCU as a whole.
Facts.
And this is why. And I think, yeah, this is a possibility about. Obviously, everyone's going to go to mutants. Absolutely a possibility with one of these tendrils.
Maybe.
You know, Fantastic Four, absolutely a possibility if they're not here already. Stuff like that. So I think with Multiverse of Madness, to answer your question, yeah, I think one of these tendrils could be Dark Universe related. It could be Mephisto related. It could be how Mephisto gets into our world. It could be Dormammu Unleashed, because you know Dormammu's always trying to break through.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of different avenues they could go. I think that's also how we get Spider-Man stuff, because Spider-Man's coming out first, and we know Doctor Strange is going to be in it in some form. We know Alfred Molina's Doc Ock from the old Sam Raimi Spider-Mans.
So Spider-Verse might be affecting this, yeah.
So, you know, and if we see Tobey, possibly Andrew Garfield, the older Spider-Man in this could be one of the tendrils as well, which then leads me back to my Black Panther situation. How do you not eventually, with all respects to Chadwick, recast him if you're bringing all these other characters in? So with Spider-Man and Multiverse of Madness, absolutely, I think this will affect it. I don't know how it doesn't, and I think it affects kind of everything going forward. Not everything may deal with time exactly, but I think it will affect the MCU going forward.
So the MCU going forward, I have the quote-unquote plot, I think, in my head down for the first Avengers movie. You ready for this?
Avengers 5th?
Avengers 5, right? No, wait. 4.
5.
Is it 5? Yeah, it's the 5th movie, right?
Avengers, Age of Ultron, Infinity War, Endgame.
Okay, so after the events of the Multiverse of Madness, right? I think we get to a point where, just like in the comics, where they had the main 616 collide with the Ultimate Universe and things are different. I think that's what's going to happen here. Mutants are going to be clashed in, and Fantastic Four, or maybe some of, like, not all the key figures are there yet, right? And they're growing. But, like, I can see all of them clashing together, and the Avengers have to team up with them because of all the realities coming into one, solidifying everything. A villain comes out who has, like, senses the disturbance in all the different, like, tendrils of space gets created.
Like Galactus?
Not Galactus. I feel like Galactus is too big.
No, well, size-wise, absolutely.
I want it to be Galactus, right? Because he hungers
it's
for
gonna
worlds.
be Galactus.
I think Galactus you could introduce anywhere for a generic, like, oh, main phase 5, cool. Like, he wants to come and destroy worlds after we get our feet on the ground. I think it's a villain who I'm drawing a blank on who it would be, but, like, who can sense all the different changes in reality, stuff like that. Smells it smells that it's heightened on Earth because everything's happening on Earth, right? Smells it, comes to Earth, or is born on Earth, and then the Avengers have to team up with a member of the X-Men, maybe one or two, and the Fantastic Four to kind of deal with this. Like, that's what I think the coming together moment could be.
So
maybe that theory is just it's Kang, and the first Avengers movie in this new phase is that all like learning how to deal with each other. It's like, I don't know, like Avengers versus X-Men versus Fantastic Four kind of thing.
New Avengers.
New Avengers,
Dark Avengers, West Coast Avengers.
No, Dark Avengers is the secret project, right? That Valerie's working on, right? Maybe it's the New Avengers, right? And they all have to team up to make a new team to fight Kang, and they have to fight some hobo with a shotgun, right? And then the next movie they fight Kang. That's what I can see happening here.
What movie, what comic do they fight a hobo with a shotgun?
I think Hobo with a Shotgun is a movie. I don't know why that came to my head.
So I understand where you're going. I think that is a possibility in this phase with, like, the Avengers movie, the next Avengers movie, kind of finally taking out Kang, right? From within what he's doing Loki, what he's going to do in Loki Season 2, what he's going to do in Ant-Man and Wasp. That will eventually affect everything into the next Avengers movie, and Kang will be there. But I think the big bad behind it is either going to be Doctor Doom or Galactus. And I think you're opening an easy way for Galactus right now, right? Could this crack in the time stream in reality have awakened Galactus from his cocoon?
So you're thinking Galactus is the big bad, not Kang.
I think the slow burn big bad, the Endgame style big bad is going to be Galactus or Doctor Doom.
And instead of doing, like, you know, the Avengers 1, 2, and 3, like the villain of the week, if you want, taking it out one time, like Ultron. Ultron should have been brought out and developed.
Absolutely.
Maybe Kang is like the way villains should be.
Yes, Kang is what they wish they could have done with Ultron, right? We're going to have him here. We're going to have him in Ant-Man and Wasp. We're going to have him in Loki Season 2. and you're gonna know him and maybe fall in love with him, and then the Avengers have to take him out, and that's gonna hint to the big bad behind him. Everything Kang did he awaken Galactus from his cocoon? Is Galactus slowly making his way by eating worlds and destroying worlds? Is this now a big bad threat? Now later down the line, once Fantastic Four and the mutants are kind of established, absolutely, Mr. Fantastic is tied directly into Galactus. He's the one who kind of figures out he's coming. So that could be.
Galactus is the big villain for the second. Well, it's the Saga, right? The Saga.
The second Saga villain could be Galactus or Doctor Doom if they're going the Secret Wars route, because I could argue this timeline break is two things. One is what I just said, possibly this awakens Galactus and he knows where everyone is now. Okay. And number two, this could be a hint to Battle World in Secret Wars that Doom uses to control all the heroes, right? We already saw the Void, which was kind of like Loki's version of Battle World, where you're sent to another dimension and you kind of don't know where you are or how to get out, right? Could that be kind of the prototype Battle World, or did this crack open up? There's one of the universes is just a combined Battle World, and that sets up Doom as well. So I think there's two big bads you could do for the Saga. If they're planning on doing a third Saga, which I think they are, I think Feige has plans to
why not
2030, God knows when.
Yeah.
So I think there's a big possibility behind Kang. Door number one could be either Victor Von Doom or Galactus.
I like it. Maybe they do it in arcs. Like big villain for the first act is Kang. Second act is argument's sake, let's say Doom. Third act
Annihilus.
Insert person here. Then third is the whole arc is Galactus. I like that.
With the Disney Plus shows, you can flesh out these villains way more, have more backstory, have more context, have more connection to them or disconnection to them, and you could build them up so by the time they fight, it's like you've been on the ride with them the same way you have with the
and this next saga is going to feel like so much more because they have an opportunity to put up more content. I really like that.
Even without your Tony Starks and your Steve Rogers.
Exactly. Guys, that is our episode on the effects that Loki has done on the MCU. Let us know down in the comments below what you think are going to be the repercussions of the Loki series.
And guys, thanks so much for watching. Give us a thumbs up, really helps the channel out a lot. If you're new, subscribe and turn on those notifications. Ring that bell so you don't miss any more of our videos, whether it's Bad Batch. We're going to do What If when it comes out in a couple weeks. We have all sorts of stuff planned for you guys. And as always, check us out on our social medias at Jersey Comic Crew, Instagram and Twitter. And as always, I'm Chris Heller. That is Rob Moran. We're the Jersey Comic Crew, and we will see you next time.